All right, guys. All right, so we have a special guest tonight. Browns After Dark. Tony Battalio is with us. We're going to talk some Browns. We're going to talk some Browns After Dark. So we had Derek on last week, and now we're bringing on another senior member of the Browns After Dark community. So, Tony, welcome to Brownie Postgame.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I've been excited all week. I was actually just talking to Derek about this like 20 minutes ago, telling him how excited I was and asking him if he had any tips for me, really.
Oh yeah, dude. DF is the man. I've known him for basically since I started this channel, and I wish him all the best, and I will support him all the way. And I've been on Browns After Dark, or at least I was quite a bit in the summer. I was on the Spaces, quite a bit. And I don't know. You tell me about it. Like, how are the Spaces going now? I know everything was hot and heavy when all the Deshaun stuff is going around, but now is it settling into like kind of your own little community, or how's it going?
I would agree with that. We're settling into our community, and at the same time, we're getting ready to ramp back up because the season is starting.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say we've had like dead spots throughout the year, but obviously it's the off season, and you're going to have a dip. Most sports related things will kind of dip a little bit in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have our own little community, yes, and we're gaining new people. It seems like almost every week. We are doing an episode uh tonight not when you guys will be watching this, but tonight at 10 is a special time if you want to tune in for that, Mike.
If I can stay up that late, I will. Although we're getting pretty close here. It's like the time of
Yeah,
recording, it's like 8:30, 8:39 East Coast time. So we'll probably run right up to that. So in terms of, and just for everybody who missed the DF Sports interview, Browns After Dark is a Twitter Spaces kind of community, right? So it's basically like a organic, homegrown Twitter Spaces group that meets every day around 10ish, right? And then it gets going late.
we do it right now on Thursdays, but when the season starts, we'll be going to Sundays post game, probably either Wednesday or Thursday, and then maybe another one somewhere around the week, maybe three per week potentially. That's more of a kind of a Michael Cozy question than it would be me. But you can always find us in a random space here and there. We have other spaces like on our After Dark network. Like we have Buckeyes After Dark now, and we have, well, I can't let out some information. We're getting a couple more NFL team After Dark shows pretty soon.
Ooh, okay.
We have Guardians, we have Cavs, all sorts of different stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think there's a tremendous amount of potential in what you guys are doing. I think the Twitter Spaces is very it's almost untapped because there's so many people on Twitter that are talking sports all the time, and not everybody has a platform where they can share their opinions, and not everybody is in a place where they can just kind of talk sports or talk their favorite team with somebody in their local area who cares about it, right? I mean, me myself, I'm down here in Florida, and if I didn't have this YouTube channel, I don't know, I wouldn't talk to anybody but my dad about the Browns. So I mean, I think this Twitter Spaces thing you guys are doing is awesome.
That's kind of how I feel about Notre Dame. I'm actually not a Buckeye fan. I'm a Notre Dame fan. That's exactly how I feel about the Irish. It's like I'm surrounded by Buckeye fans.
Yeah, no, I did. Trust me. Like down here in Florida, like I'm in Central Florida, I'm surrounded by every type of random Florida college fan. So I'm right with you. Well, let me ask you this. Let's talk a little bit about the Browns, right? Because this is Brownie Post Game. So first things first, what was your impression of the preseason and any surprises on that 53-man roster that we got?
Uh, my impression of going back to the first game, I didn't really like. I guess I understand what Kevin Stefanski was trying to do with the offense, but when Deshaun was in there,
Mm-hmm.
it just didn't look like it felt natural to me almost. Like I get the plan he had in place and all that. I thought when Jacoby and Dobbs came in throughout the remaining two games, they looked a lot smoother. I'm hoping when Watson gets back, everything falls into place and everything works. And as far as surprises, I was shocked when Rochelle got cut yesterday, but I see he is on the practice squad. I honestly thought Chase Winovich would not make the roster, and he did. But I think that's a little bit of blind loyalty from Andrew Berry when it comes to his trade targets and his draft picks. He is very loyal to them.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, nothing really stood out to me. I will say Dobbs did surprise me the way he played in the preseason, but nothing really stood out.
Yeah, I think like in a vacuum, if we think of this the whole Deshaun situation and really what we're up against here, if it's Madden, you could just slot in Deshaun. There's no outside distractions, and he's just an A+ quarterback that comes in and gives us a much better chance to win than other quarterbacks we've maybe had on this roster since Bernie. And because the talent's there. The challenge is he's going to be dealing with all of the, off the field stuff, and now he has to be away from the team. So, in your mind, do you think that this is a playoff team this year, or is this basically just like, let's just get through the rough waters and make the plan for next year and beyond?
I think because of the way the schedule is set up in the beginning half of the year, I think if Jacoby plays the way he needs to play and the defense delivers on what they should be like, I think we could sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah. How many wins do you think it'll take?
In the AFC this season, it has to be at least 10, I'd imagine. This conference is just too stacked. I
Yeah.
mean, the entire AFC West, any one of those teams could win that division. I mean, on different levels, but any one of those teams could win the West easily, except maybe the Broncos. They're the only ones I would put in that. It would kind of be a surprise if the Broncos won. Even the AFC North, you have the Bengals, Browns, Steelers. Tomlin never had a losing season. He always finds the way to get wins out of his guys. The
Mhm.
Ravens, like everywhere you look, you have a tough game week in, week out in the AFC. So
Yeah.
it's gonna take at least 10 wins.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I think I think where we are in the AFC North, it's right now, I think it is the Bengals division currently. I think that the Browns have the talent on paper, but we're dealing with some of these external forces, like especially the quarterback position, which unfortunately is the most important position. And then you've got the Steelers that are truly in a soft rebuild right now. And then you've got the Ravens that are a powder keg that could implode at any moment, and they could fall off a cliff because they don't have the defense they used to have. Lamar wants to get paid, but he's his own agent, and now he sees how much Russell Wilson got and Deshaun Watson got, and all this stuff going on. Plus, he's trying to get ready for the season. Things are nuts there. If he gets hurt or something, my gosh. So this is one of those things I think with the Browns that we got to be really careful, and as fans, we got to really kind of like keel back on our expectations, because I would almost say that the playoffs would be a surprise, or at least to me at this point, going into the season, looking at how we did in the preseason, which I know isn't a true indicator. We didn't have a real players out there, but still some of the same stuff that I've seen over and over from Stefanski. The undisciplined players. Getting just long sets where it's 3rd and 27 type stuff. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm not super bullish on this season, but I think that it can be something that we can work towards next year. But who knows? We never know. Let me ask you this then: how many wins? And I've been asking everybody, and nobody's giving me like a hot take on this. Either like we're not going to win any, or we're going to win 11. Like, how many wins are we going to get by week 13 by the time Deshaun's back? In the first 11 games, how many are we getting?
I said 6 last night on the dog chug. I think we go 4-0 to start the season. That's kind of my hot take out of that. I
Ooh.
think he goes 6-5, and then Watson comes back.
If we went 4-0 to start the season, I think they'd erect a statue of Jacoby Brissett.
Absolutely.
Like,
See, the way I'm trying to approach this Brown season, the way I wish other people would, which I know it's not going to happen, kind of the same way I approached the Cavs season. They surprised me. Now, in my position, I can't treat the Guardians like that because baseball is my favorite sport. I expect them to win. They've surprised a lot of people. But for everyone's just going to be upset. If we lose week 1, people are like, oh, season's over, pack it in, whatever. That would be, they could go 1-3. And as long as they beat the Panthers, people are going to be like, oh, we'll be fine. But if they lose to Mayfield week 1, the panic that is going to ensue is going to be insane.
and I think there's a good chance. I think we're an underdog at this point, right?
I'm not, I think we're we might be 2.5 point underdogs, but that could just be because of the home juice, like them
Mhm.
being at home.
And I think that's a real thing. If we would be playing the Panthers in Cleveland, I'd feel much better right now. The whole travel, all the logistics that go into that kind of stuff. You know, is Jacoby going to be really ready? All the kind of stuff like that. I think the only real advantage that we have going into this game is right now we are the healthiest we've been in a very, very long time. So we're going at them with our full strength, and so are they. To be fair, they've got Christian McCaffrey back, so they're going to have all their weapons readily available. But I think that if we were going to play a team like the Carolina Panthers, who could be one of those like the dark horse type teams as well, let's get them week 1. Let's get it over with. But I got to tell you, like I'm having a hard time convincing myself that we're going to walk out of that stadium with a win.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, if that game was in Cleveland, the atmosphere would be insane. Just Baker coming back right away.
Yeah.
I just, with the way our defense is supposed to be, I can't see it being a game where Mayfield throws, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. I just can't see it happening. I think the Browns win the game, but I think they win it by controlling the clock, um, running Chubb, running Hunt, even Jerome Ford. I mean, wouldn't be surprised if we see him get some carries. Like I just feel like the Browns squeak out a win week 1.
Yeah, I with the amount of running backs we have on this team, we better use them.
Oh yeah, I seen someone's talking point was, I believe it was Anthony Lima on 92.3. He said they want to do run Chubb into the ground, and that will just not with the amount of running backs that we have in that room. We could easily split them all up and give them all 10 carries if we have to.
Sure. And I remember I actually quote retweeted that one. I remember that tweet that when he said that, and I was like, I get what you're saying, but again, like in a vacuum, you can do that. If you're playing a video game, you can run a running back into the ground. That isn't how you build a championship team. And I think the whole strategy all along when we had Chubb and Hunt on the same team was to move them in and out, like chess pieces, one after another. And then at the end, if somebody's hurt, then we can go with one of the other running backs. But it was that 1-2 punch. And I think that still is going to be, and it's going to be even more now with our non-regular starting quarterback, not the guy that we want to be in there, right? So, yeah. Anything surprise you, or anything that going into this first game that you think we should be looking out for? I know they were saying the Panthers' offensive line could be suspect. Was anything out there that you're particularly going to be interested in watching in week 1?
I think their defense has a shot to be decent. McCaffrey, as always, is the key guy that you want to key on. Robbie Anderson's a good wide receiver. They have a decent team. Not taking anything away from them. Like last year, the quarterback was one of their problems. Darnold was one of their problems, and I'm not saying they're getting an upgrade in Mayfield, but with a healthy McCaffrey, that makes them 10 times better on the offensive side of the ball. His problem is just if he can stay healthy. That's what I'm worrying about for week 1 is the impact of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. If he stays healthy, he's one of the most dangerous guys in the NFL. Period. And I remember when he was coming out in that draft. That was the draft where we took Myles Garrett number 1 overall, I believe. And I remember sitting there going, I know we're not going to take this guy. Like, we're not going to take a running back number 1 or anything like that. But I wouldn't have minded us moving back up into the first a little bit earlier in the first round to get him. Because I was like, this guy's going to catch a lot. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns in this league. And that's the thing, though. He's not built like Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb's problem is lower body, like major lower body injuries could derail him. But Christian McCaffrey is not built like that. He's a much smaller dude. I know he's muscular, but he's a much smaller dude. Cool. Tell me some more. Tell me about what you're doing with Stadium Rant. Tell me about that. You're writing for them?
Yeah, Stadium Rant is a huge just umbrella company. We have 32 NFL team sites. We have me, I'm one of the featured writers along with a few other guys. We are eventually, I believe, going to branch out to baseball and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that with 100% certainty, but we have podcasts. We even cover hunting, fishing, stuff like that. It's guy named Keaton Henry is the guy behind all that. Great guy, great company to work for, great just network of people.
Mhm.
If anyone is out looking for a writing job, we are hiring. You'd love it.
Yeah, it's funny. I every once in a while I get approached by people to write stuff, every once in a while, and I'm like, you've never seen me writing. Like, I don't feel like I'm much of a writer. Like my talent is more about just like talking or maybe tweeting, like very short form writing. Long form, I don't know. I think I don't have the attention span for it anymore. But yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there, and I think there's a lot of good opportunities. There's organizations like Stadium Rant HQ. You guys can find them on Twitter as well. I've got Tony's Twitter account there right above him as well. So if you're not following him, follow him. Make sure that you check out Browns After Dark too, because I think I honestly like from the bottom of my heart, I think that's got a ton of potential. I love the guys that are involved with it. Anything that DF does, I'm going to back up 100%. That guy's backed me up before. I'm going to back him up. I think he's got a lot of potential too as a content creator and everything. And I'm glad that you guys are doing stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, great group of people involved with Browns After Dark, and it extends beyond just me, Michael Cozy, Derek, JC, Tori was in there for a while, Brown Spot, the listeners even, they all get up and talk, and it's like you said earlier, it's a huge community. My friend Tyler's always involved, great guy. Just too many to I could if I had to sit here and name them, I'd be here for hours. Just
Yeah.
check out Browns After Dark, follow all of us. We have fun. We're not just strictly Browns all the time. We go so off topic sometimes that we've had to throw away episodes because it's gotten so interesting and just off topic, out of pocket, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We certainly have a lot of fun every week.
Now, do you guys ever think about like recording it and then putting it out there like as a podcast, like long form?
Not the spaces itself. We haven't got to that point yet, but we do have a Browns After Dark podcast that is on Derek's YouTube channel that we do occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully at some point we do get to that level where we are putting our actual spaces out as podcasts, because that would provide a lot of entertainment for people.
Sure.
I mean, you never know what to expect from week to week. Some nights you'll get Cozy in there and he's ranting about something for 20 minutes, or some random person will come in and start ranting, and we just sit there and laugh for like 20 minutes about it. It's just.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Every time I go in there, I'm like, I wonder what these guys are talking about. And then it's like, sometimes it's a completely different topic altogether. And I'm like, oh, what is this? And I end up just sitting there listening for an hour. But very rarely do I chime in on the mic. Cause usually when I chime into spaces, like I'm on the run, or like I'm in an airport, or I'm like in my car or something. And I'm just like, oh, let me see what these guys are talking about right now. But it was invaluable to when all the Deshaun Watson stuff was going on. There were like, I was in other spaces that they had actual lawyers in there who were like saying, hey, from a legal perspective, this is what's going on with this. This is what this means. And I was like, this is great. This is literally podcast. This is better than podcast quality content. And these are guys who are just hopping in there and being like, hey, this is my 2 cents on it. And, giving a really interesting perspective.
Oh yeah. Twitter spaces are great for networking. I mean, my first time I ever hopped in was before the draft, and it has been 5-6 months almost. And like me, Cozy, Derek, JC, all of them, we've hung out at Browns games. We've hung out in Columbus where Cozy's and Derek are at. Like, become like, I can honestly say they are some of my best friends. Like, we went from, I don't even know these guys. I'm gonna hop in this Twitter space, gonna talk about the Browns, and now it's like I talk to them every day. Like,
Yeah.
hang out with them, love talking to them, love spending time with them. Like, it's a great thing. Probably
It's
the best thing Twitter's ever done.
I agree. I think it's one of the coolest features that they came out with, and now I'm starting to see them kind of do some more innovative stuff. Every once in a while, when I log in, there's like, "Ooh, this is some new feature that they're kind of playing around with." But no, I agree with you. I think it's something about the Browns themselves. Down here in Central Florida, I'm repping Brown stuff all the time, and I can't tell you, like, every time I go out in public wearing anything Browns, there's always somebody who stops me and like, says something, positive about the Browns, like they're a Browns fan or they're from Ohio or something like that, and they want to kind of just like, shoot the shit with me about that. And so it's the people that you meet. I mean, my co-host for the Wednesday show that we do, Mike Ristano, we met because he invited me onto his podcast years ago. And I was like, I like this guy. And I was like, I think we could jive if we just have conversations. And then I brought him on. We started kind of doing these little things and it turned into something. And now, I mean, Mike and I text daily. You know, we're texting all the time. We haven't specifically spoken in a while because he's in the middle of doing some stuff, but we're texting all the time about stuff. And I think that's the thing about the Browns that brings us together as a community that's very unlike a lot of other teams that are out there. You know, so I don't see that with the Dolphins. I know they're
No,
fans down
it's
here, but are the Buccaneers?
maybe it's just something about being the laughing stock of the NFL for the last 20 years. Just we all can bond in the misery of Cleveland sports.
You know, it's I think there's some truth to that. I think that with the Cleveland Browns, it's for me, you know, I feel like it's part of my identity at this point. Just like, you know, the college you go to, it's in my blood. You know, when the whole stuff with Deshaun was going around, and before I started learning and really going into it, my knee jerk reaction was, this is a really bad idea. You know, I was a Baker fan. I was, you know, close with you know, members of his family and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want this guy to go away. Like I like what he brought to the table. I like the energy he brought. And then on top of it, it was, you know, the whole situation with the off the field stuff with Deshaun. And then, you know, as that more evolved and got further in, I talked to a lot of people. I talked to other influencers out there, and I'm like, how do you feel about this stuff? And they were like, I root for the laundry. I'm in Cleveland, you know? And I think that the more you look at the Browns themselves, at least me personally, it's not the Dallas Cowboys. It's not the, you know, the LA Lakers or anything like that. It's not a sexy team or city. There's nothing about that. But it's something about persevering and staying with it and loving it and being part of that pain, but also being able to see at some point when that Super Bowl eventually does come, it's going to be the greatest moment in a lot of people's lives. And
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
yeah, it's going to be very similar to like the Boston Red Sox winning. You know, how many years of just bad teams and heartbreak, and then if we get that Super Bowl, it will be, I just hope we get it, you know, while my dad's still here. That's for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my things as a Cleveland fan. That's the maybe the one thing I hated when the Cavs won is all the bandwagon fans because of LeBron.
Mhm.
And that's why I think if like the Cavs, like this year's edition of the Cavs, if they win the title, it'll feel a lot more special. Just like if the Browns do it or the Guardians or like, but if the Browns win a Super Bowl, 1.4 million people is going to seem like a drop in the bucket for the Cavs party to the amount of chaos that will go on in Cleveland. That will be a week long party, if not more.
Oh, 100% agree. I feel like the Browns are, you know, there's never going to be like a LeBron that's going to go to the Browns. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think, like, I guess
I'd say,
OBJ was the closest thing.
yeah, I mean, I could agree with that. Even Deshaun, without the scandal, maybe like if Deshaun would have came without all these scandals, Deshaun and OBJ is probably,
Like the two biggest draws, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting being a Browns fan, and I think that's where, I don't know. Have you seen the whole thing with that NFL analyst woman Cynthia Freeland, who made up that story
Yeah.
about Baker, and then it kind of blew up in her face? What's your take on that?
See, I'm kind of in the middle of on that because as someone who has watched Baker Mayfield for the last 4 years, and I'll give credit to Manny who does Down with the Browns because they were just talking about this with JC and I was listening. I kind of verbatim say what he said. We've watched Baker for the last 4 years. We
Mhm.
know that he's tempted, like he will make comments like that.
Mhm.
So I'm not really sure if I want to call it false or not. And then the way he backed up on it made it seem more of like, he probably said that. He just didn't want to get out to the media and like the public. Like it would not surprise me if it was real, but obviously I know how the media works, especially sports media.
Mhm.
They'll take something and run with it. It could easily be, I don't want to say fake, but misquoted.
Yeah, I think that's clearly what happened. My take on it is, I think I think she probably at best embellished it a little, and at worst it was like a white lie. Like there's clearly was an interaction between the two. So he admits that he talked to her, but he said it didn't go down like the way that she was describing, which for anybody who's unaware of this, who's listening, it was she said that he said he was going to go F them up, meaning he was going to go F up the Cleveland Browns. And then she walked that back way back. She's like, no, I was the one who said F them up. And it wasn't about the Browns. It was about the whole season. I mean, it was so PR gross how she backed that thing up.
Yeah, it's a mess. But what do you expect? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think like to your point earlier, it is something we could see Baker saying. And that's why I was initially like, this isn't a big story. Like, who cares if he said it? That's who Baker is. He's the guy who planted the flag in Ohio State, grabbed his junk against Kansas, comes to the Browns, doing all the stuff that he did there. That's clearly could be something. And who cares? And it's not going to get the Browns up for it any more than they already are. They know what's at stake. They know like potential humiliation is at stake beyond anything else. So that's not a big deal. It was the fact that it wasn't true. And Baker's like the one quarterback out there that people think that they can do that to. And you get a lightning rod guy like that, you're going to have defenders, you're going to have haters, you're going to have all these different things all wrapped up into one. And I think she's feeling that.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the flag plant, because one thing I did want to say is, yes, the fan base is very divided by Watson, but there was a lot of fans who never really got over Baker going to Columbus and planting that flag in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just couldn't let that go, and then they loved it when I don't think it was Joey, I think it was Nick. A few years ago when he sacked Baker, he did the flag plant celebration.
Yeah. In the 49ers game.
Yeah, so it was Nick Bosa.
Yes.
But,
yeah, and then Baker was like, yeah, I guess he's not over that game yet. I don't know.
But a lot of the fan base still isn't over that game, and they still hated me. Some loved him because of that. Some hated him. It goes to show no matter who's playing quarterback or who's on this team or what happens, people are always going to be divided, but the one key is winning solves a lot of things. If Watson comes in and starts winning, a lot of those people that were like, oh, I'm never watching the Browns again, or I'm not a Browns fan anymore, but you're going to see him in the dog pound or wearing Browns clothing, or that's just how it is.
Yeah. I think the only quarterback who maybe had gotten a pass on that was Kosar because of really what he symbolized and all the wins that he had in the 80s. But people forget, even Bernie at the end. I mean, I was like 13 years old when the whole Bernie situation, when he got cut and then got picked up by the Cowboys right after that. I remember that. And there were a lot of people that were upset with how he was playing towards the end of his career because he was so beat up, and they wanted to see Testaverde play. I mean, it was like he couldn't do it anymore. It was people were more upset about the way that he was cut. But it just goes to show it doesn't matter who you are. Maybe the only quarterback in the history of the Browns who just had a fairy tale like ending was Otto Graham. And man, I mean, you have to be 80, 70 plus years old to remember that guy. Right. So it doesn't, I guess the Haslams and Andrew Berry and Stefanski are like, look, we got a shot here. We have a window. We got Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, and all these Denzel. Well, we got these guys that are young. They're on. We can afford them right now. If we don't go out there and make this big splash, are we going to hook the entire franchise onto the back of Baker Mayfield? And at this point, have we seen enough to say, yes, this is what we want to do?
I wasn't a Baker hater at all. Like, I like guys that win games, not like any football fan.
Sure.
What kind of was the final nail in the coffin for me was Christmas Day last year. I don't remember ever being so upset over a Browns game specifically, because like Notre Dame, whole different story. Probably going to be very angry on Saturday night. But that Christmas Day game against the Packers, I remember it just being even like Christmas dinner. I think my girlfriend was like, we're going to go to my parents. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to stay home and be mad.
Yeah, he like ruined, it really did ruin Christmas for a lot of people, because we're like, we got a prime time. We're going to have Christmas presents in the morning, hanging out with family, dinners, all that kind of stuff. and we get to watch the Browns. It's like the greatest day ever. And it's in like Lambeau Field against, the Packers. It's going to be like snowy. It's going to be cool. And then it was just the ultimate Browns disappointment. The 4 interceptions that game?
Yeah.
It was a nightmare, And I think you're right. I think a lot of people would just got off the wagon at that point. And I think honestly, the front office and coaches did too. That was kind of the final straw for them. Well, hey, Tony, we've been at it for like a half hour now, man. I just want to thank you for hopping on and spending some time talking to me and talking Browns. I love what you guys are doing in Browns After Dark and everything like that. And I'm going to put some links in the description for everybody as well if you want to go and check them out, everybody out there. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, and you guys are always welcome back here too. I'm going to be pumping out content kind of left and right this season, and with a goal of growing and continuing. I want to try to get to 10,000 at some point this season. That's the goal. So we'll see. But Tony, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'll be happy to come back any other time with Derek, with Cozy, with any of the BAD people. I love your content. I love your post games you do with your dad. Like, great. It gives me something to watch after the game, even if I'm angry or happy or whatever. It's always just more places to talk like Browns with people. And yeah, I love your content. The stuff with your dad is great. Like, wish I had my dad around to do that. It sucks, but like, he loved the Browns, he loved the Guardians, Cavs. Like, that was baseball. We always bonded over baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that 2016 World Series was rough for me and him both.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
So yeah, to see the Browns win a Super Bowl, like, especially for you, and you said you hope while your dad's still here for that to happen. That I can imagine how much that would mean to you. And
oh, 100%, man. It would be fantastic. He just actually got back here. I was helping them move back in. They snowbird in the summer, so they go up to the Northeast. And now they just got back, and I was like, all right, now you're back. I can get you back on the show and everything like that. It's, your computer's here and everything, so we're good to go, right? And he's like, yeah, I'll come back on. He's kind of a little bit heartbroken about the whole Baker situation. So, but we're wearing him down.
Yeah, football cures everything. By the time September 11th comes around, it's like, it's not maybe the week after because we're playing against Baker, but
right.
By the time they kick off, it's not going to be about Baker or Deshaun anymore. We're all just going to sit down. We're going to watch the Browns. We're going to enjoy it.
100%. 100%. And we're actually going. My dad and I are actually going to the next game. We're going up to Cleveland for the Jets game. So he's got no choice. He's going to have to root for the Browns. He's going to be up there in Cleveland with me.
I think I'm going to go to the home opener as well. And if I do, we'll have to meet up. I believe Derek might be going. We'll all have to meet up.
Absolutely. I was actually thinking, I mean, this could be like a kind of soft announcement, but I was hoping that we could do like some sort of meetup because we always stay at the Marriott, the Key Tower. So, and they have like a cool lobby and stuff like that. So I was hoping that we could invite a whole bunch of people there and, meet up and, talk some Browns and do all that kind of stuff. And then maybe tailgate, do all that kind of stuff too. So, but I would absolutely love to hang out with you guys, meet up in person, give everybody, shake everyone's hand and, just be around the community. And that's one of the main reasons that I didn't want to go to the Carolina game. I don't really care about the Dolphins game because I don't want to be around other fans like that. I love the energy of being in Cleveland around the home field. Like it hits different.
Yeah, I get that completely. I thought about going out to Pittsburgh for the Browns Steelers game later this year, and then I'm like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
No, that's actually a dangerous idea if I'm being perfectly honest.
But like I said, yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Happy to come back anytime.
Absolutely. You definitely will, Tony. Thanks so much. Everybody, if you've made it this long, then I hope that we've earned the sub. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Go Browns.